What do you prioritize more? People liking you or your life's purpose? If you knew you could have everything you wanted if you just believed, would you take the first step or wait another 10 years? Here on the SDR&R podcast, we tackle everything holding us back. Alright, so that was Karma Police by Radiohead off the album OK Computer, which if you don't know, you should check that album out. That is a phenomenal album, and it was made at a time, I think in the late 90s, it might have been like 2000, but incredible album that they did right before we had all of these developments and the sound libraries and everything that we got in the early 2000s for music production and all of that cool stuff. But yeah, incredible lyrics, incredible musicality, and just the sounds and the tones. I mean, to this day, they were that unique and original. They're still really interesting and really good. They haven't been outdated or anything like that from new stuff, which is really saying something. Hard to think that could be considered a classic rock album, though, because it doesn't feel like classic rock. It feels pretty new to me. Anyway, this week we're going to talk about Ekhart Tolle's, or Tolle, I think it's Tolle, concept of the pain body. And this has also, of course, come up in a lot of different philosophies, spirituality, psychology, and really just human interaction. So the reason I use that song is because the lyric, "Please save me from all the voices in my head." What's this? What's this? The pain body, as Ekhart Tolle puts it, it's a way of seeing the world. It's a way of seeing people as their highest self rather than sort of their actions and when they get upset. It's a humble way of coming at the world. It's a very nurturing and empathetic, understanding way. Sympathetic as well. But I think it's helped me out a great deal, and I think it would help out you too. So that's what we're all about, helping each other out in our success decisions and rock and roll community. So we'll jump right in. So what is the pain body? The pain body is basically understanding that all of us have this, what we call a pain body, which is this other sort of version that comes out that's not really who we are. And it wasn't really our choice. So we talked a lot about habitualized reactions and responses, which are programmed in. They're not hardwired, but that's our core wounding coming back up, our core responses, our habits, what we believe is important. We set it down when we were young as a survival mechanism. For most of us. Or it could have been when we're older. A lot of these habitualized responses happen too in major relationships. Most of us have been through some major relationships that were really bad, and we learned some not so great habits to sort of survive in that environment. So the pain body is the version of us that comes out when we're sort of at our worst. And it's so bad and that it's not really us interacting. And I just love this because if you're interacting with a person and they get triggered, and I mean triggering in the way that we talked about in one of the first episodes, if you're interacting with somebody and they go from being very easygoing and happy and peaceful to you say something that is codified for them. So to them, it means something totally different than what it means to you. To them, it triggers them and it puts them through this habitualized response where they sort of lose their free will. And the reason why they lose their free will is because at some point in their life, this response that you're seeing, this version of themselves, was necessary in some way, or they at least were taught that it was necessary. And if you can see that and separate that action and reaction from who they are and how you see them, if you can see them past that reaction, if you can see through that reaction, that is one of the most loving, emotionally mature things that you can possibly do as a friend, as a partner, as a spouse, as a human being. Because it gives them this opportunity to delay their reaction and potentially change their reaction or choose a different one. So let's get in a little more granular with that. We all have our habitualized responses. We talked about this with the metaphor of when you drive a car. It's not a metaphor, it's an actual literal thing. So when I drive a car, especially my car, I have all of these habitualized actions. And so I kick the floor, pedal, brake, and that's just totally normal for me. I don't think about it. It just happens. It all happens. And every time that I drive, I don't really remember the driving act itself because wherever I'm driving is habitualized too, for the most part. And that's how you can, going in a different direction than normal, you can find yourself going in your normal direction, like to the office or pick the kids up or whatever, instead of going the right way. So you go the wrong way. But that's just because your habitualized response has taken over. And normally, that's fine. That's not going to do you any damage except make you a little bit late. But when it comes to social interactions, when it comes to you getting triggered and your response does not proportionately meet what's happened to you or with you, then it's not really you anymore, right? It's still your body. It's still a part of your mind. I'd say it's probably your medulla oblongata, like the brainstem doing it, more than your conscious forelobe. But it's not really you. You're not choosing these reactions. You're just doing them because at some point that was burned into your psyche. So what does this look like in practice when it happens to you? So you will be interacting with someone. They'll go from being joyful, peaceful, relatively relaxed, open-minded, refreshed, what have you. And then instantly, almost in seconds, you will see this very sharp mood swing. And they go from that state to being angry, to being hurt, to being very emotional about it, and they might fight or flight, right? So or they could freeze like a deer in headlights because they don't know what to do or even what's going on. So they get tunnel vision, their adrenaline kicks in, they get anxious. They might say things to you that are sort of accusations or attacks. And then you have the choice to react to their pain body with your own pain body or not. Most of the time, our pain bodies just sort of bounce off of each other and just fight or run away or harm one another and those around us, because those are all habitualized responses for us as well. All human beings have a pain body. It's just a matter of how big or small it is and how tame or not or wild it is, right? So, but you have a choice and you are still in control. So when you see this quick response that seems to be a totally different person, it is a totally different person. This is a totally different person, and it's not the person that you love or respect or admire or look up to or want to be close to. This is these habitualized reactions. This is their zombie form. This is not really who they are. This is not your friend with free will. This is just their reactions. And I do want to say we are always in control, and I'm not saying that it's okay to go about life saying, well, that's just my pain body that like totally bit your head off. Try not to. But when you see people trying to bite your head off, understand that that's not really them. So if you can see past that, if you can take the path that sees through their pain body reaction and does not react yourself, if you can connect with the part of them or offer the opportunity to see and connect with the part of them that is afraid, that is hurt at some point by someone who's probably not you. If you can see the part of them that is longing to be seen or to have a connection. If you see the part of them that existed when this reaction, this habitualized reaction started for them, which is again often them as children, and you can love on that version of themselves, then you can really do some serious healing. And this won't always work. There's a lot of times that it won't work. All that we can do is give them the option to connect in that way. And if they reject that option, that's totally okay. We need to respect that. You can't push someone to anywhere near that core wound of theirs without their acceptance of it or desire for that. And a lot of people don't want you to see their wounds. They don't want to see their wounds themselves. They don't even want to know that they're reacting out of habitualized reaction, that this is their pain body, right? But I think you will find that sometimes if you can see through it people will really take the high road and they'll be very grateful. They might not understand that you have done them this favor, but that doesn't really matter, does it? Because you like this person, I assume, and you want to help them out. And it helps out, it up-levels all of humanity every time that you can love on that core wound. The wound itself, not the reaction, not the scab, but the wound. And that's kind of that takes finesse. That's a difficult thing to do, but if you can do it, I mean, I think that's some of the greatest work as a human being that you can do. It's emotionally mature of you because you have every opportunity to react yourself. If somebody's pain body is fighting you or accusing you of things, then your pain body is like, all right, checking in for duty, sir. It's my chance to come in and like wreak havoc, be a bull in a china shop. But you don't have to do that. So if you can recognize the pain body in them and recognize your own pain body, and that you don't need to go into that loop, right? You don't need to sacrifice your free will for your safety. You are in fact safe already. You're safe right now. Then that's an incredibly emotionally mature thing to do, to set that pain body aside, set your own reactions aside, and give yourself a duration between the stimulus their pain body gives you. You get a duration between the stimulus and your response, and you get to decide. That window of opportunity for you has so much power and potential. I would say most of the key sort of stress points in our lives with the most potential for us to be successful or fail have to do with that duration. So whenever you get triggered by someone or something, if you focus in on that duration and elongate it, if you make that duration as long as you can and open your mind rather than shutting down, rather than clamping down, holding tight out of fear, you put the blinders on, rather than getting tunnel vision, you get more vision. You open up the world. You open up your heart. If you can elongate that, you will absolutely be monumentally successful. Not everyone's going to see you doing that, but there are some that will see it and they will know that you're capable of doing that magic, and they will want to be with you. And it doesn't matter if they make $10 million a year or $10,000 a year. People that can do this will be monumentally successful. There's just no question, right? Those are great and amazing people. Those are Mother Teresa type people. Mother Teresa, actually, I get the strong impression that her pain body was so tamed that she would go decades in that duration. She went her whole rest of her life without reacting. It came out here and there. There's like a couple of, I think it's her journal entries that expressed some frustration. But instead of going down that road and having that response, being a zombie, instead of sacrificing her independence, her free will, she chose the high road, and she chose to see people for their best, even when they were giving her their worst. So there's two other things I want to cover. One is that while we can see beyond people's pain bodies, that does not mean that we should make dumb decisions with these people. Okay, that does not mean that you are under any requirement to tolerate their pain body coming out. I think if you give them one opportunity to sidestep their pain body and connect with you and allow you to love on them at that like core wound, or see past the pain body at least, that's great. If you give them a second opportunity to do that and they turn it down a second time, that's also great. But I would not give them a third opportunity, at least not for like some years, because then they get in the habit of rejecting that opportunity. Right? So if they reject it twice, that's kind of like, okay, it's like 2 strikes, you're out, because they're probably not going to change. And if that pain body, if you are enmeshed with them in business, in life, in a relationship, and whatever it is, even just as friends, the extent to which you are enmeshed with them is risked, right? So the more you're with them, the more risk you have. Because whenever that pain body comes out, it's chaos. It's a question mark. It's an uncertainty. It could do anything. It can certainly do harm. And really, it feeds on harm and reactivity. So I think a lot of us sort of people pleasers, or maybe old souls, if you will, I think we can see past that naturally, past their own pain body, But then we believe that we need to stay with this person until their pain body subside. But that's not our responsibility. It absolutely cannot be. And it's actually a favor to them and a favor to all of humanity, and most certainly yourself, to step away, right, from that person if they're going to continually throw mud at your face, okay? I hope that makes sense, but it seems obvious to me if you tolerate it more than a couple times, it's going to keep happening, especially if they get kind of results that they're looking for. But if they instead take your opportunity to let down their pain body and connect with you in a deeper way, then that's amazing. That's an amazing moment and opportunity for you both. But it's common for entrepreneurs to sort of see the potential in people. It's common for old souls in relationships to see the potential in people too. And that's a skill, but it's a double-edged sword. And you need to be reality-based as well. You need to be rooted in the ground, even though you can see deep into the sky and the stars. And I don't know if I'm getting too frou-frou with you, but the reality is that somebody who has a big, gaping pain body that just tries to mutilate anyone that sees them, you're not going to be able to fix that. And you can never fix it. You can show them that it's going on, and they can fix it if they choose to. But you certainly should not make that your responsibility to heal it. If it were your own pain body, you could heal it, but it's not. It's theirs. So don't make the mistake of hiring people that you see a lot of potential in that also have a lot of these problems, because that's going to bite you in the ass at some point. We don't know when or how, but it will. Don't make the mistake of getting into a long-term relationship or marrying somebody with a big pain body, because they're going to drag you down. It's going to be a battle between their higher self and their lower self. And if it looks like their lower self has been winning for some years, it's likely going to continue. And it's not your responsibility to help them to grow into their higher self. You can aspire to, you can give them a few opportunities, but don't enmesh yourself, don't get in bed with that person too much, okay? Because you'll get trapped. And then you will have to develop your own pain body just to survive that relationship and the toxicity that comes along with it. You'll repeat the whole cycle, and you'll bring humanity and certainly yourself down by making that decision. So it is a gift, it is grace, it is healing to leave a person who continually goes into their pain body and mudslings in your face. This is a little unrelated, but because we're on the Karma Police song, I really wanted to talk about that lyric that comes right after there, ambition makes you look pretty ugly. That is a brilliant lyric because it's counterintuitive, right? Why should ambition make you look ugly? But it does. It really does. I think people love to see you fall. And it's this strange obsession with sort of death and failure and depression and sadness and all of those things. There is like an endless amount of sympathy and love available for your own failures. But there is not an endless amount of support to keep you ambitious and keep pushing forward in most cultures, most communities. I don't know why that is. I think it's just easier for us to understand failure maybe, or maybe failure is more comfortable than ambition and a great deal of success. I'm not sure, but do it anyway. If you're ambitious, be ambitious. I mean, go after that shit. Even if people don't believe in you, even if they try to drag you down, even if they criticize you, that's all their shit. And it does tie into this podcast because that's their pain body. Their pain body is afraid of you being successful because then they might also be striving for success or ambitious themselves. So let their pain body be their pain body and still be ambitious because you only live once. You only get this one shot. So go after it. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening. Our next show is on October 22nd at the Sweetwater Grill in Duluth, Georgia. Then we've got one on the 27th and another one on November 1st. So we're going to have a string of like 3 in a week. We also are releasing our next single, which I'm so excited about, produced by Ross Childers, who was one of the founding members and the lead guitarist and producer and writer for Collective Soul. It is amazeballs, I think. I love what Ross did to it and how it's come out. And we've got our saxophonist Steve Calzone on it too, which is really sounding great. So can't wait for that. It comes out on October 7th, so here pretty quick. Keep rocking and rolling, guys. We'll talk to you next week. If you enjoyed this podcast and you want to hear more, check us out on jonathansparksmusic.com, JONATHAN sparksmusic.com. Please like and subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. We love you guys. We'll talk soon.